and it's being hosted by them, supported by us from compute and expertise as well. But it is an academic research model, first and foremost, that's being released under a permissive license. It is legal within Europe to do that. It is legal within the UK to even do that commercially. And it's legal within the US per the Supreme Court to do that as well. So it's legal. Is it moral? So on moral, you have a whole bunch of different moral things. I think we're going to launch a philosophy channel. So kind of my other hat is kind of, well, let's just say we do a lot of ethics and moral philosophy. There are various kind of arguments to this. I think the net benefit for humanity is ridiculously large. I think that we're about to have a Renaissance 2.0 moment where the entire creative potential of humanity and ability to communicate changes over the next 6 months as this diffuses, and that is insane. So I would argue, yes, it is very much moral on an individual and collective basis. And again, it is kind of what it is. It is not targeted at anyone. It is just the nature of that. It is legal and it is moral. Is it ethical? I think again, this is the first of its kind. There will be many other models. And in fact, we have already released the code and the data. If you want to right now, you can create your own model. It will take 250,000 A100 hours if you want to replicate this, plus a lot of expertise in multi-pod, but there is nothing stopping you right now from downloading that code and creating your own model. It's out there, which means that this will happen. It's just who is going to do it on the other side. Against that, again, we recognize the kind of needs and importance of this. So Holly and Matt have launched something for artists to say, let us train their own models. And we've been thinking about this, like maybe we should have an artist registration program because we are in a privileged space of being the coordinators of this new ridiculously crazy movement that's kind of there, whereby artists can upload their portfolios and almost have a digital fingerprint of their names and their portfolios that services such as Night Cafe and Midjourney and others can use to exclude their styles from the output. Now, is that something that should be mandatory? I don't believe so, because again, I'm someone who's very much on personal, individual, and collective liberty. But is it something that could be useful and help assuage them? I believe so. This is a complicated issue. Obviously, it's very passionate. I think most of the arguments are a bit specious. I think they belie an misunderstanding of the underlying technology, but at the same time, the fears are valid and should not be discounted. And again, they are scared, and it's the nature to be scared when something this momentous and crazy is about to happen. But the number of artists that would be created and the new jobs and innovation from this will ridiculously far outweigh any disruption that occurs on the other side. And in fact, as I mentioned on my Twitter, much of the funding for this, the external funders, comes from artists and others who found themselves able to express in a different and brand new way from ever before. So quite a long answer. It's quite a complicated topic, but again, like I said, I think those are some headlines there, and I'm happy to go into more detail about certain elements of that in future questions.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're on to a softball question here. So the next one is from Matthew HK asks, will multiple GPUs be supported when running locally at home computers?
You mean kind of with NVLink and things like that? I don't see why not.
Yeah, I would presume. Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. Will be supported means by what? By stability? And our software? Maybe, maybe not. I think most certainly, like, it's very, very likely. But you don't need permission. You can build your own code for multi GPU, so you can run two things at the same time. And you have multi image processing and different types of batch sizes and things like that. So if we don't do it, someone else will. And that's cool, and that's the nature of this. It is not a locked service.
Excellent. All right. So the next one is from Sam and has a direct question here. Is just asking for a date of when will the model be open sourced, and there's a second follow-up question to that, which is, do you know what inference time is per image on a V100?
The model will be open sourced after the not safe for work filter is tested. You guys help us fine tune some of the settings. And there is an ethical use license that we are considering whether or not to add that will go with it. And that is all that's between us and the release of this model. So out of the box, it does what you think it will do. And that's it. And you can adjust and tweak those settings however you want. Well, again, it's open source. Do what you want. Rule zero of open source. If we can get as close to that as possible, fantastic. So hopefully not long. I should also add I am not the one who makes the decision on the models being released. That is not our way at Stability. It is the developers. Please do not hassle them. They want to do this right. They are very deep thinkers. They are geniuses, right? And so, as soon as they are comfortable, we will release the model. If they are not comfortable, we will take longer. And again, do this properly. It isn't like the TechCrunch headline. The rest of the article was pretty good. I didn't like the headline, but it's okay. We do think about consequences and we do these things thoroughly because it is important, you know? So I'd like to kind of put that. Second question was what again? Sorry, Bill? Second part of that
The
question?
second question was very specific about inference time per image on a V100, which I'm not sure
I think
we
it'll
know that
probably
off the top
be
of our head.
FP16, it'll be about 4 seconds. That would be my guess. Uh, yeah, I think, and that's a guess. And there's lots of different things you can do. Like the bot you're seeing isn't super optimized. There are all sorts of stuff that you can do. It depends on steps, samplers, things like that. But let's say 4 or 5 seconds on a V100, because it'll be equivalent to these 3090 type equivalents that we're running on right now. Um, yeah, there's stuff you can do to probably get that down as it's optimized. But like I said, we've barely done any optimization. That will maybe be the next step of the bot. And again, this beta test that we do now. There's a lot of stuff that can be done around the generators.
Mhm. Okay, our next question in the chat here is from Neutron Flux Labs 28, and this is they're asking for the odds here. What are the odds? What are the chances I can link latent diffusions weights into the stable diffusion model to play with for right now prior to release, or will that not work at all?
No, it won't work. They're they're different architectures because you have the embedding. Like again, you could potentially train it yourself and do a clip L14 embedding, or wait until next week when we release clip VitH. But I mean, like, there's really not that much longer to wait, right? It's like we're doing our best to get this out there in a responsible way. And like I said, hundreds and hundreds of researchers already have it. We are kind of going through when we release, everyone will have it. So yeah, I would say if you want to play with it, this is the best place to play with it right now. Should we take a voice question or just continue on the chat?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for sure. We can certainly. We've got some hands up here. So, Shigawire, I see your hand up. So I'm going to invite you up to speak.
Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Thank you. I have a question regarding, well, the first question is a very easy one. It's either yes, maybe, or no. The second question is more like difficult. But the first question is, will it be possible for the version 2 16 gigabyte model to be compressed to fit on a 12 gigabyte VRAM?
We
And
haven't said what the size of the V2 model is, so
uh,
there's
well,
no there's no comment
I've
on
read
that
it
one.
somewhere. Okay,
Yeah.
no comment on that one. Okay. Second question is, you mentioned something about clowns being blocked from your censorship. Well, it's not really censorship, but like it's a model to help you get more of the prompts that you want. Does that mean we can be able to negatively prompt?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, like right now, the filter is a bit brute force, right? But you can expect, again, all your favorite features from Disco Diffusion and Majesty Diffusion will find their way into the website. When? TBD. But they will find their way in, and that includes prompt weighting and other elements like that. The model is more than capable of it. Again, the filter is a bit different, and it's got different features such as the ability to blur, blank, or just rerun the prompts, and it next knocks out the negation. So if it detects a clown that's snuck in there because they're freaking creepy, it will adjust the weights to be negative and rerun it, and then the clown disappears. So, I think that's a happy medium, and again, the filters are customizable um, on the code
Awesome.
base that we're putting up.
I'm just wondering if that code base, if we can do it in the prompt section, or we'll have to edit the code to make negative prompts.
So again, the filter should be considered as a generalized thing that you set and forget, right?
Ah,
Whereas
okay.
the prompts are more dynamic, and prompt weights are just the merest scratch of the surface compared to kind of what we've been thinking about and have planned, right, Bill?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, there's like an entire latent space to explore, and it's what's this combination of different factors and vectors within that. So it's don't worry about it. You'll be able to really fine tune and customize, not fine tune. You'll be able to really customize the outputs you want and adjust them as we and again people in the community build stuff on top of this lovely little couple of gigabyte model. Although I think we might be releasing the 4 GB version and then the 2 GB. I'm not sure. Should
Awesome.
probably check that out. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Okay, so I'm going to invite up Mr. Herb. I think that's the name there, Mr. Herb. You're coming up to the stage, please. Welcome, Mr. Herb.
Thank you, thank you. I have a question with regards to the way that the AI reads the prompts, and it's kind of interwoven with the NSFW filter and something Emad talked about in an interview with the sumo wrestler example and how DALL-E kind of adds to the prompt in the background. So my question is, what exactly makes it so that all these different AIs take the same prompt in such a different way? And does the NSFW filter change the weights, or does it like do something with the prompt similar to DALI? Or can you maybe elaborate on that?
So the NSF for work filter basically has a clip model, plus some extra tricks that just classifies the outputs, and then it says, what do we do with this output? Do we blur it, block it, or rerun it with this kind of weight negatively weighted? So it's not hugely complex, but it is actually really useful because it can also be used to filter concepts and kind of other things like that. It again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible around these, so you know what happens to your prompt in between on the way in and way out. Whereas anything you do with box systems, such as the other ones. But that's I think the principle. Bill, is that kind of correct? I think we've tried various iterations, and we'll be sharing a lot of our thinking around how to make these models more aligned with outputs that you are expecting, shall we say?
Right, right. I
Exactly.
see.
Yeah.
And the way that it reads the prompts, I saw something about that Stable Diffusion has like 30,000 words or something that it knows. Does that have to do with that different AIs read the prompt in a different way, or is it something else?
No, and it knows way more than 30,000 words. Like, I'm not sure what the dictionary is, but no, massively more. So what this has is kind of again, it's trained on 2 billion images and then subsets of those 2 billion images. And this has what's known as clips. So the classical models had a generator and then a guider. So you generate with a diffusion model and you guide it with a clip model. This kind of combines them both together. So this was a technique first used by Catherine Krausen in her CC12M clip condition models in December that OpenAI then used in their glide models, where famously they removed the humans in January and then really implemented, they called it unclip in DALI 2 with the VIT-H embeddings, where they kind of stuck those two together. So it learned from the image classifier model what concepts were. These things have like hundreds of millions, if not billions, of words in there. And it also understands like the word-ishness. So like a lot of people were getting around the OpenAI filters by putting Obama and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it kind of gets it, even though it's not Obama, plus multilingualness. So now these are crazy little couple of gigabyte models that somehow happen to know billions of words and images and all sorts of things. It's just that we've barely scratched the surface of how to optimize these. This is also one reason why, we were like, it'll be interesting to just have something that represents the whole internet. Because what you're going to find as you explore that little 2 billion, sorry, that little 2 GB file, don't know, but I can tell you, like, we've only literally explored maybe 0.1% of it, which is insane if you think about it.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing right now is that we're really trying to figure out how exactly to get the most out of this tool that you guys created.
Yeah, and like I said, you're using the raw prompts now and still smashing all these other tools that have massive pre and post processing, right? And that's insane. Like once you start using all these other things and putting it in a pipeline where it belongs, because right now you're literally throwing pixels at a screen and expecting it to randomly stick, you'll be able to create superb, immense stuff, actually taking the time to build up things bit by bit, connecting it to search engines so you can import stuff, The possibilities are endless, and again, using the same model as the basis for that is going to be super interesting, as well as then your own custom models and other things. So yeah, like I said, I think it's just really interesting, but it knows a lot more than you'd expect. There's probably some sort of magic word. So the magic word was ArtStation. You know, it's like Superman, Mr. Mixer-Pizzle. I can't pronounce it. Probably some weird combination of words that every single output is going to be stunning. And it's like probably just a mashup of letters and characters. Hopefully, it doesn't summon like elder demons from the abyss, but you never know. Like,
All right. Yeah, yeah, well, that was kind of my only question. So thank you guys.
cheers.
Excellent. Thanks for the question. All right. Shall we return to the text chat and see? Because those questions were coming in. So
Go for
let's
it.
see. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So from the stage chat, we've got a great question here from ProGen, which is, can you tell us more about OpenClip Vit H/14? And does it include other languages, and in what percentages? Will it be open sourced? Can it be used as a visual language model like Chinchilla and Flamingo? How does it compare to them?
So, you know, on all the vision models that you've used so far, like Midjourney and things like that, Midjourney uses Clip L14, which is the kind of best one. It's large versus huge. So huge is kind of 3 times the size, effectively. So it's a bit difficult to fit on something, but again, it's what DALI has embedded in it. This is not multilingual, I believe. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember because I haven't really been overseeing the training of it. It's been the Lion team and Russ and kind of others. It's English, and these aren't the models that you use in Chinchilla and kind of other things. It's a very different type of model. Like I said, it's better for embedding and guiding and image classification. So right now, the extrapolation of the top 0 scores, which is kind of how good it is at classification, is world class because the previous open clip models have outperformed OpenAI's, which is fantastic as a feature of the data set and the great work done by Ross and kind of others in the team. And again, we've sponsored quite a bit of that work out there. The Chinchilla, Flamingo, and other type models that will be coming later on this year. So, one of the things we're planning on doing is a Chinchilla scaling suite, and then having these more multimodal models that can do a bunch of different modalities. So they can describe images like here's Obama on a chair standing on a peach tree or things like that, because it has these different cross modalities embedded. But I wouldn't expect that for a few months, to be honest. But even then, like this is all crazy. This is like again like the early days of Web3 where it just moves so fast, right? It's like a few months. That's nothing. Yet it feels like forever. Like God knows where we'll be then. All right. What's
Phenomenal. Okay, so next question we have here is a question about a roadmap when init images are usable. This is from me AI.
Init images will not be usable in the bot. I don't want to see the crazy stuff you guys put up. Init images on the website? I don't know, Bill, are we putting them on the website?
We're looking at ways in which to integrate it into a certain tool set. It won't, I don't think that's planned for the initial immediate thing. The immediate plan is to improved image generation, experience out of Discord and a bit more control over it. But
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long though.
yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long. I mean, like, again, the model is completely capable of it. You can be able to do it in Disco and Majesty and kind of other things when the model's released. In image is just like an advanced seed. And it's actually quite good for the image generation time because you can have a lot fewer steps when you have a more structured image versus kind of some of this random Gaussian noise that you have with the seeds. This is also, true of pipelining where you got centipede diffusion, again, Majesty and other things like that. It really helps. But we are doing a lot of work around the interpolations for animation, etc. So, we'll carry all that over to even better in its seeding. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, that time will come. So, here's a softball question. What are the chances Stable Diffusion goes open source by the end of the year?
Of course it will.
Of course it will. That's an easy one. Great. Okay, excellent. Of
End
course
of
it
the
will.
year.
All right.
What do you guys take us for? Like, come on, you've seen the pace of innovation and output. Like I said, the only thing right now is just we got to test the not safe for work filter. Got to make sure that the initial set of parameters are decent. There's a little bit around an ethics license that we're working on that is similar to the Rail license from Hugging Face kind of Bloom, to bit of transparency. We may or may not use it. If we can use it and keep things open source and remove some of the stuff like you must say that all your output is like machine generated. We don't really care about things like that. Other people might because of their thing. We don't really mind. Then great. That's literally all that stands between this and release.
Excellent. Okay, so Moon Got Game is, I think, someone who's got their hand up. So Moon Got Game, you're coming on up to speak.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. Oh my God. It's wow, it's so nice to speak to you in person as far as in person goes. My question was if the new clip models you're training, would they have a higher token limit? Currently, a lot of people are running to the problem of running out of tokens for their prompts.
I don't know. I'll put it quite straightforward. We can find that out. Again, the model is just the it isn't the model. The token limits are a factor of a number of things in the training process. So this will depend how we train Stabler Diffusion. The V2s and others are a little bit different as well. I mean, the reason that you post a lot of things in your token limit and we added the tokenizer so you can see it's there is because the model still isn't that good at understanding output, right? And again, it stands alone, raw input in, raw input out. As you have pipelining and a bunch of this other stuff and inpainting, it'll be a lot better and you won't need to have these ridiculously long kind of token inputs. I think you can see though from what we did with like GPT Neo X and things like that, we are in favor of longer token limits versus some of the other closed source competitors. So we would definitely try and increase it, but I'm not sure if this will directly lead to that. It'll just lead to higher quality compositional elements, similar to DALI 2 and a step up there, but not as good as the T5XXL, that's a language model, or UL2 language model embeddings that we're testing out on some of the other models that are coming down the pipeline.
Lovely. And is this clip model going to be used in the training of V2 or V3?
No, those are separate. Those are L14 VLs, just similar to this, but they have a bunch of other tricks and things like that that we will talk about in release. Resolution outputs and let's just say other things.
Lovely. Another thing I wanted to ask about is upscaling. I think it's one of the most sought after features of in the server. I recall you said Stability has been training a few state-of-the-art upscalers. Are these going to be integrated in the model, or will they be released separately?
Upscalers are separate to the model. In fact, upscaling is interesting because it's actually one of the largest uses of compute resource. So DALI 2 takes a 64 by 64 image as its initial output and then upscales twice to 256, then 1024. Some of the upscalers we have, one of them, I believe, actually already released in the Simulacrobot GitHub, but we kind of just didn't package it up. Latent diffusion upscalers are coming. It's just right now we want to get the models out before we get those going. And they should be better because they're trained on the same image data set and things like that. So you'll get less and less corruption. You've seen some big advances in upscalers, or anyway. I think, again, that will continue because it is a function of the same data set with some very specific changes. But we do want to introduce those in the website. It just might take a little bit because we want to make sure to get the core experience correct before we kick on there, especially given the higher compute requirement of that. Right. Cheers.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's you're doing God's work, you and the team. We are so thrilled to be here.
Thank you very much for being part of the community. All right, who's next?
Yeah, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump to the next question here. Let's see, we've got some questions in the chat that I'm just dropping answers on wherever I can, where it's a yes or a no. So if I drop an X on something, folks, that means the answer is no. And if I need to indicate a yes, I'll make sure the yes is very clear. So Okay, we got two questions here. This is from Heathen. Okay, question number one. I'm a huge fan of Novel AI, and I feel their release of their image gen feature is a bit blocked pending release of the stable diffusion model weights. In parentheses, I call it prima nocta. Rights to release SD's own projects first goes to SD, I suppose. For them, will the model weights release be held up by a test schedule on the safety filter? Or is it probably going to be enough that the filter just appears to be functioning properly?
So there are multiple parties that have access to the weights, including researchers and partners such as Novel AI and others. No one should be, yeah, they're all kind of held up by just a release. So, that's part of the thing that they signed with us, effectively. The model weights that they are using are our model weights. So this isn't a fine-tuned version or other things. They will be working on those. So I think it's only right that kind of their release is dependent on us releasing it publicly. We're in a privileged position because obviously, we're the ones that help drive this model. But again, like everyone's just eager because it's so cool, right? We're literally not talking about end of year or months or anything like that. Like we said, we will release weights and we released it to research as soon as possible. It's just that we needed to do this extra bit here to make sure that the general release is safe and then also to sync it up because there is advantages to releasing these things early. But we want to get it out to as many people as possible. Like, I don't want to sit on this. Actually, someone said it was a bit like, I think this was a Reddit comment. They were like, it's a bit like fire from the gods, right? You really don't want to hold on to it. You're going to put it out so it lights up everyone. And you also don't want it to burn down the house. So it's about kind of managing that process really carefully. Because this will light the spark of creativity in just the whole world. So we really want it to get out there and to be used for legal purposes everywhere. Like if it's illegal, then that's wrong. Well, complicated, but you know what I mean. Like legal, ethical, and moral purposes. Whatever those might be for your legal ethics and morals, shall we say.
Excellent. Yeah, that quote was fantastic. It is fire. It is it is literally and figuratively like fire. It's the most incredible tool. I'll say it over and over. It's the most incredible creative tool I've ever used. So, and then Heathen had a second part to the question here. The official web UI, exciting feature leaks for us, question mark, history or library of generations. We're working on it. In painting will come later. Prompt term token weights. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting thing we'll look at in terms of when that's going to come into the web UI. Again, we're working through making sure we can figure out the best way to stage everything and present it back to you. Things in the oven you don't even know about to ask. Yes, there's tons of it, and we can't talk about it yet. And then he then says thanks to all involved. And yes, thank you for being here. All right, so let's take another voice question.
I think there's something to just emphasize. The web UI is our web UI, right? If you don't like it, you can use someone else's. Like this is again very atypical, right? Because it's like, oh, you got to use ours, and it's the only way. Like whatever. If you don't like our API, use someone else's. If you don't like our web AI UI, use someone else's. We're just going to try and deliver the best experience possible, and become more and more communicative as we go along. The reason that we're being a little bit like camera shy and shutter shy is just because we got such cool things out there that we really just want to wow everyone. I think the product team's working super hard to do that. And we will continue to support and upgrade the open source variants, such as Disco and Majesty and some of these other ones as well. Just like most of the notebooks out there have Catherine's name and other people in the team's name right on there. We are all massive supporters of open source, and we just want these tools to be out to make everyone's lives better. And if our tools are better than others for some of the product stuff, great. If not, at least you got a choice, because that's how we're operating.
It's man, it's amazing. It's genuinely fantastic. So yeah, exactly. So I love You just said it so well. So let me invite someone else up here to the stage to ask a question here. We've got Altrin here. I'm gonna bring you up to speak. Alt Ryan. Welcome. How are you?
Oh, I was muted. Hi, guys. Again, Emad, nice to talk to you again. Quick question about kind of the future of training those models and the image sets. Right, you have the Leon. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. In the future, now that like Midjourney is doing millions of people in their Discord. Stability is gonna blow the world up. The whole internet is like filled with AI generated images. Would the next iterations, I don't know, Stability AI 6 or something, would be trained on human and machine kind of generated images? And what would that future look like? Is there a path to create machine generated images versus human generated images? How do you think about kind of the next for models and for indexes?
I think that's a great question, right? Like, is it going to be self-referential? The answer is yes. This model was trained on itself, right? So we had the alpha simulacra bot where people had to rate image outputs, right? And then we used that as kind of feedstock to train this model to be even better, as well as to make a subset of Lion, which was aesthetic. Aesthetic meaning cool. So, as you go forward, they said there'll be this explosion of massive amounts of images just everywhere. And future things will be based on that. But like I said, as stability, what we're doing is we're going to do national level models to represent every culture and this and that. So we're going after more and more data sets that otherwise would not be available to train even better models and custom models based on our learnings how to do general ones. So Lion 5B will be superseded by a larger Lion that's in the works. I can't say how big. Leave it to the Lion team to kind of announce. And again, that will be a benchmark because, the reason for these large Lion data sets is that you can compress them and reduce them down to exactly what you want. And so we're doing better and better tools to allow that to happen. The reason for going after these public sector data sets, from archive.org, Wikimedia, and others that we're in talks with, is to have better quality data sets to train these models on. So I wouldn't worry too much about model quality. And in fact, because the outputs of these are so good, it's not like VQCAN type things, right? It's like you'd want to train a model on these outputs. Finally, there has been a question asked on Twitter quite a lot. The intention is to release all these models, prompts, and the kind of outputs as an open source data set. However, as a result of the input and everything that everyone said, one of the things that we have is Discord integration with the website, so you can log in with your Discord as well as other ways. I think we'll probably make it opt out because maybe people weren't fully aware that their kind of prompts and things could be included in the Creative Commons dataset that we want to offer for research. And so we'll do our best to make that happen. So you can just say, remove my images from this dataset before we release it, and we'll communicate with the community for that.
Thank you. A quick follow-up. Have you considered adding to the EXIF data of the generated images something that will say that this was generated by Stability?
We put a watermark and things, and we decided not to. I mean, I suppose we could do that, Bill, but I don't really see a reason to.
I'm not a fan of it. We've had some internal discussions and they will probably continue, but I'm not a fan of watermarking things, and I don't think you are either, right?
From a visual perspective, or from generally just to know that it was generated, or from both?
Oh, from an aesthetic perspective, there is a larger conversation to be had about, the nature of the images being identifiable as generated. And there's a lot of conversations about that happening. And I think, yeah, there's definitely more to come on that front for sure.
Yeah, I've got no real strong viewpoints on that. I mean, like, if you say that a photo is from a Canon camera and it's in the EXIF data, then you could have something that it's from Stable Diffusion or something like that. I don't really see a problem with it. I don't really see a need for it. So I'll let someone else smarter than me make that decision, or I'll let the devs make the decision on that one.
Thank you.
Excellent questions. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got some comments from the chat here. So up here, we've already got one from Projon. I'm going to skip that one, Projon, because I answered your earlier one. Let's see. Okay, we've got one that says, it sounds like other models are planned for the future for audio, 3D animation. Are we invited to those betas by virtue of being beta members in this Discord already, or will that be a different thing? I pass it to you, Emad.
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, like, models need to be stress tested, and I think the community's been largely well behaved. So why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe we've been less well behaved. Apparently, the bot is being updated now. So sorry if some things are breaking, but all of you on this chat are extra kind of welcome. We will make track of kind of all the user accounts that are beta members. So, like you'll get to access the website first. And like I said, you can connect it with your Discord. I think part of the plan is to try and make it so that you can take your images off the Discord and things like that. And things will be private on the website. Like we will add social features, but it won't be quite the same as this. Other front ends and other things we're working on are extremely social, but this website not so much.
Excellent. So let's see. There are so many questions here. I want to try to get as many as possible here. I'm going to jump around a bit. Some answers are already out there, right? Will the website make adding details more user-friendly? I think we covered that. Let's see. We've got some hands up. Pancakes, I see your hand. I'd like to invite you up to speak.
There. First of all, thanks a lot for your work. It's amazing. It's honestly insane. My question is an other one than image generation. It's about audio generation. And will it be possible at some point to make audio samples and generate them, or maybe interpolate them? That would be amazing.
Yeah, next month.
Whoa, amazing. And the other question was,
Again, I'm not going to say it's diffusion quality though, otherwise they'll kill me. It won't be. Just imagine it will move fast. I think the amount of talent in audio who is intermediated digitally and will come to the Harmony community will be off the charts. Already amazing people in there. It will just be insane. That's the community that I'm actually most hyped for, I think.
yeah, me. And also, will it be maybe possible to have a seed or prompt interpolation functionality? Like, for example, you could think about one concept, one prompt, and then another one that is kind of related, but would be like more to the tailored to the output you would like. And would it be possible to make a weight in between those to like interpolate, to fine tune outputs? That would be an amazing feature as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's not hideously complicated. It's more than possible. I mean, you can look at Xander's recent art piece and kind of other things, and the work that Gene's kind of done there when they're playing around with this prompt seed interpolation with Stable Diffusion itself. It looks pretty damn cool. Again, like there's stuff that is cool and interesting, and there's stuff that's complicated. I'd say that's in cool and interesting. It's not complicated. It's just a matter of the optimal UI UX for that, right? And so, we're bringing on more and more really talented UI UX people. Always on the hunt for superb people. Please send to careers@stability.ai. And we're going to try and make all this stuff as easy as possible so that you can really like almost mold it like clay, to get the outputs that you want. Because life isn't about 4 second, 4 pictures. Oh, it's perfect. It's going to be about process, I want everyone to graduate from this kind of almost loot box mechanic to process and having that fine-tuned control that it's like driving a really nice car, right? You want to have that responsiveness. I think that's what Bill and the team are really working on, responsiveness.
It's amazing news. Thanks so much. And I guess about the Harmony AI, we will get updated on the server. I hope so.
Yeah.
Immediately
Go,
sign
go to harmony.org, sign up for the mailing list, and you'll be first into that server, right? Or send them a message. If you are really passionate, you can get into the server right now. Like I said, I'm not going to hype it up to massive levels. Like, we're not going to release a stable diffusion level model on day one, or even a jukebox level model. But there is some amazing stuff from amazing people going there, and I think that once it opens up, because they're just putting down the things, it will move really fast. It will make image gen look like a freaking turtle, because every musician in the world will want to join.
Amazing. Thanks so much. You do God's work, as it was said. Thank you.
Just doing our best. Cheers.
Thanks for your question. Thanks so much. Yeah, I dropped the link for Harmony in the stage chat. And yeah, definitely look into it and reach out. Okay, so Jeremy Kirschbaum, you have your hand up, and I saw your question in the chat. So why don't I bring you up and you can ask it here. Welcome. Yes.
I was curious to learn a little bit more. First of all, thanks. This is amazing. Curious to learn a little bit more about fine tuning and training. Um, One just practical question about fine tuning, which is how how much firepower do you think it'll take to effectively fine tune in terms of I guess you were using V100 hours earlier. And then also just curious your more conceptual thoughts on, is that the right place to focus right now? Should everyone just be like using the pre-trained model and trying to figure out what it does and focusing their attention there, or is there like important work to be done on the obviously there's work everywhere, but where would you hope that people would focus their energy in terms of like exploring fine tuning or retraining if they have the resources to do it, or just focusing on using the model and figuring out those workflows and things?
I think that's an excellent question. I mean, again, your energy is kind of where you want to have your energy. But there's some amazing stuff you can do with fine tuning. So, we've been lucky enough to bring Kali Yuga onto the team. And some of you will have seen her amazing work with watercolor diffusion, textile diffusion, and pixel art diffusion. I love pixel art. In fact, Kali Yuga, is she on the call or is she here?
You guys in the crowd here. Kali, would you like to join us on stage? We'll invite you, and you can turn it down if you wouldn't like to join. So, but I have invited you up.
Yay.
Kali, welcome to the
Can you hear me?
stage. Loud and clear.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with what I've done with fine tuning disco diffusion forks, but that's sort of my bread and butter. I'm gonna be getting more familiar with fine tuning stable models specifically because it's gonna be a slightly different process because it won't be me fine tuning within a collab notebook. So it's gonna. I don't have a super well formulated answer to, I guess, the excellent question you were asking, but I'm hoping once I figure out, optimal workflow for fine tuning to start maybe doing some like tutorials and webinars for the community to sort of get people jump started on fine tuning their own models and thinking about data set building and sort of how the AI is learning based on what your inputs are and what your desired outputs, are likely to be. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and Kali Yuga, kind of, what's the current requirements for compute for fine tuning?
On Disco, I have been able to fine tune 256 by 256 models within a couple of days max, just within Collab Pro, which is 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So it's pretty attainable from a cloud-based subscription model. I know some people have had luck fine tuning it locally as well. I um, have not tried that. I honestly, just because I'm so happy with the processing power that Collab gives me, I haven't seen a reason to, but it's doable. I know you can do 512 by 512 on a Pro Plus subscription, so that's I think 24 gigs of VRAM. But
Yeah.
all that to say, it's completely within reach for the average consumer.
Yeah, and I think it'll be the same for Stable Diffusion, because Stable Diffusion is actually a smaller model than the 256 model, believe it or not. And there's some, you don't necessarily have to get a 3090. Like, you can get a K80 for like $200, and that's 2 times 12 gigabytes. That should be able to fine tune fine. So yeah, I'd say fine tuning is going to be really interesting because that allows you to have the fine grained control. I think that the prompt stuff is interesting, but it's just such a massive world of really interesting stuff that you can do to push the boundaries of this that I think it's just going to go insane.
And I would also add that I don't think it needs to be an either or sort of thing. One of the things I like most about fine tuning models is then turning around and using, prompts I've used for entirely different models or entirely different, tools and seeing what I get out of each of the fine tunes. Because it's almost, I was saying this to somebody the other day, each model is almost like its own person, almost has like its own soul. It has to be communicated to slightly differently, and sort of learning how to have a conversation with each model is an art form in and of itself. And I think there's a lot of value there and a lot of like learning to talk, to any stranger, becoming familiar with the tools.
Great. Is your handle Kali Yuga for your
Yes,
fine tuning
Kali
collabs?
Yuga. Yeah, Kali Yuga _AI. on most platforms just because somebody had already snagged the Caliuga handle when I came along.
Got you. Well, great. Looking forward to checking out those tutorials. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for your questions. Those were really great questions. And really, they're going to come up a lot. And fine tuning is going to be a big part of where we're headed with the community. And as Caliuga said, more events and more educational training is a big part of what we've been talking about. So, okay. So I'm going to invite Ting Tingen into the stage here. Let's see. Come on up and join us. Welcome.
Yeah,
Hey.
okay, great. I just have a few questions. I don't really have too many. But the first one I want to ask is about when the website launches in Painting. Is that going to be there immediately, or are we going to have to wait for that?
You have to wait for it. Right now, the team is training a brand new in-painting model, and so I think probably as it comes, that will be first off. There's also a
Oh,
principle. You want to keep things as simple as possible.
oh,
And so we're going to launch the website. You're going to break some stuff. We're going to fix it, and then we'll just keep on adding features. Again, you guys have seen how quickly we add features, right?
yep.
You're not going to have to wait that long. And the in-painting model itself makes it a lot better to in-paint, shall we say, than maybe other alternatives.
Okay, actually, going off of that one, you said that when you change the resolution of the outputs from SD, you end up with artifacts sometimes with repeated characters and so on. I wanted to know, like, when we gain access to the website, would that have been solved, or will we still have that issue?
I reckon day one, probably not, because it will still use the existing generator. But then as we integrate the more advanced generators that we're working on, it will instantly be solved and better. And then as you have in-painting and other stuff and some of the more advanced features, it will definitely be gone. So again, this is an iterative thing where we're trying to keep it simple, MVP, mirror a lot of the experience that you have here, but just with a smoother thing of not seeing a zillion 500 images passing by your face every 2 seconds. Just like we're now capped the N to 4, just so we can optimize around that. Having the ability to do loads and loads of images and some other stuff, and then just expand the feature set out aggressively. So we already built ridiculously advanced feature sets, right? But
Yeah,
anyone who's run a product and has launched a product knows that if you do that on day one, stuff is going to break. And that's the last thing we want. We want all you guys to have a really nice experience and then for it to rapidly improve.
yeah, actually, going off of that one, the other question I had was I was looking up the license that you showed, the Bloom license, and I know you said that wasn't the exact license that you'd ultimately use. You're going to use some modified version of that. But still, the question I had was I saw with the Bloom license that any product that used code that was under that license would also have to be subject to the same license. So I want to know specifically if someone releases company or group of people or whatever releases software under that is derivative of SD, would they have to make their code open source as well? That's what I wanted to ask.
So again, the specific Bloom thing that we're considering, and again, by we, I mean the devs,
Yeah.
like literally Stability is
I,
a dev-focused company, they get to make the decisions,
yeah.
is the Rail license, not the general Bloom license. The general Bloom license has a lot of stuff in there. It's open science, as it were, not open source, and I got issues with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Rail is
So
interesting.
yeah, okay.
But
I'll let
like
you go. Yeah. Oh,
right now, the code and the data are Creative Commons and MIT licensed. The weights is the final thing that we're figuring out the license for due to a bunch of different factors. My ideal is that we just release the weights MIT or Creative Commons with attribution if you're going to get people to say thank you. There are
okay.
other things in there and other complexities, but we're going to make it as permissive as possible. And then future releases, of which we will have many, again, will be as permissive as possible. It's just this is the first release. There are a lot of people out for our heads. We just got to
Yeah.
be careful, right?
Okay, so just for clarification, the actual source code and stuff for the thing that would hook into the model, that's gonna be either MIT or I think the Apache license is what you said, like attribution or something you said.
You can download it right now. It's on the
Yeah, I
GitHub.
know. Yeah.
It's
But
MIT.
I just yeah, okay. But the thing that's in question is whether or not the model itself that got trained, that one is what the license is not decided on as yet.
Exactly. And so the
Okay.
devs are doing various permutations of that. Again, the devs are incredibly pro open source, but we are also aware that we live in a society, as it were. And so we just got to be careful with this first launch. You guys have seen the press already about us, right?
Yeah.
You know, a few months ago, it was like you got Phil
Nice.
and like these guys training OpenFold. I mean, we're training BetterFold, right? Like we funded all these things. You know, we employed all these people, and it was glowing press. The moment that we come out as a competitor, it shifts, right?
Yep.
And people start picking all these things up. We're still doing the same thing, but at even bigger scale. And you can see the change in language. So we're just being careful. We're not giving anyone any excuse. We're going
Okay.
to do things properly. Do
But
things right. But yeah.
But theoretically, it would be possible for someone to just train their, well, I mean, I say someone, but more than likely someone with a lot of resources to be able to train their own versions under their own license, their own model specifically, under a
course.
different, and okay.
Yeah.
Just two more questions here. With the website, when it launches, is it going to be released like for the public immediately, or is it going to have some sort of priority system where with access to the website? How exactly is that going to go?
No, it'd probably be priority. We don't want to kill everyone, right?
Okay.
So again, you know, you've seen how we've done things staged, but our timelines are very
Yeah.
different to most companies.
And a last question, I checked on the GitHub, and one of the features that it had was you could give it a image that was more rudimentary, and with some sort of similar in painting esque feature, it would fill in the spaces and stuff with what makes sense, right? What I wanted to ask about that, because what it showed was a more rudimentary like image that was more kind of meant to be illustrative and stuff. Is that the sort of thing you could use on a more well put together image as some sort of over painting kind of thing? Would it be possible to do something like that? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, could be possible. And again, anything that's possible, if we don't do it, someone else will.
Well, yeah, I'm more kind of asking, is that something that you could already do with the tool now without any modification? That's more what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks. That's all the questions I have.
Yeah, you just have to use, I mean, literally, we mentioned the software package and the kind of thing there. For an integrated experience, it'll be a lot better. This is kind of a Gauguin type thing, right? Where you draw a sketch and then it becomes reality.
Yeah.
Again, go to the Studio Morphogen Twitter and you'll be able to see something very similar and we working with them. There's just people will figure out all sorts of crazy crap with
Actually,
this.
I know I said that was my last question, but I actually did have another one. It's actually similar to the question the last guy asked, right? But when he was asking about training and the necessary computing resources for that, I think the answer we got was the Kali Yuga. She used like Colab Pro, the 16 gig version, and so on, the 16 gig VRAM version, but she never actually used herself. Like, do you have any insight as to what's the lowest necessary requirements that someone could have to have effective fine tuning of a model? So like within a reasonable time. So let's just say like within a week or so.
I have
What you have no
no
idea.
idea.
Okay.
No idea, man. Like, you
It's
know,
too specific of a question.
yeah, we're just trying to optimize it. I mean, look, this is the thing, right? Because we're going to open source it, all these questions
Yeah.
are answered really quickly, right? Like,
Yeah.
even now, like, because it's with so many researchers, some of these questions will be answered more and more, and we'll just widen. But, like, if I could release right now and push a button, I would. You know, if the devs were fine with it, I would. And also, you know, myself, I want to make sure it's released right. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. This will not be the smallest model we release as well.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
All right, cheers. Right, Bill, should we
Excellent. Yeah.
answer some chat questions?
Yeah, I think we'll switch to some chat questions. Let's see. So I'm going to scroll through here, and someone says, Kim Bomb says, question: Are 15,000 Discord members? Sorry, it says, are 15,000 Discord member is bot or real human? I think the answer to that is real humans. I think it's all real humans in here, except for the Dream mothership, right? Is there are there any other bots in here?
No, I mean, I think that probably, but I mean, like, we kind of I forgot to close the beta list. We could have a lot more people in here than 15,000 if we really wanted to, but we don't need to because, like, I don't want to kill the moderators. It would be sad if they died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. will the slow mode be removed from the dream channels at some point?
Do not. I don't think this bot is long for the world.
Yeah, that's gonna go away. Yeah, we're gonna get things to be a better
Well,
experience than that's right.
yeah, the website's just superior, right? It's like full
Yeah.
stop. Like the social element of the bot's fantastic, but like you know what everyone wants. Everyone wants a little bit of social where they can get inspiration. Otherwise, they just want to crack on.
Yeah, okay, great. So here's a question here from Urcarp, which is, will there be expansions made to the data set Stable Diffusion uses? As an example, I've noticed a general lack of data on Eastern Asian media, manga authors and such, in quotes here. Or is this something that will be left to users to create themselves once the model's open source?
I would say you absolutely do not need to worry about anime, manga, or manhwa. You know, that's the one thing that you
Yeah,
should about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, it's a case of there is going to be a lot of different models. The base model probably won't change that much. The other models will change, and again, you can fine tune it. Okay.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'm looking for another questions here. Let's see what else we have. So let's see. Actually, I've got someone. I got a hand up, ready to go. So let me bring them up. Okay.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the stage. Hello.
Thanks for inviting me. I don't I had quite a simple question actually, um, and that is if I understand like the images are mm, in a latent space, will will we have the ability to perhaps like subtract or add or even multiply or divide images as it is possible with like uh, material that is like encoded into this space, if I'm phrasing it correctly.
So I didn't quite get that.
Um, okay, so I watched uh, a video on YouTube back in the day by Kerry KH. I would suspect that a lot of people are familiar with him here. He does a lot of like AI content. I don't want to advertise him, but basically, if you have like I think he was using Gauguin uh, to basically photos of celebrities, and then uh, when like one portrait of a celebrity and another portrait of celebrity was like in the latent space, you could then put them together and it would create a combination between these two. So I was wondering if that could be possible with like the images created by Stable Diffusion.
Yeah, I mean, you can interpolate the kind of images quite straightforwardly. I mean, look, there's lots of models for different things. That's not really a stable diffusion type of model. You know, that's more maybe a style clip or some of these other kind of GAN-based models would be better for that. But you know, definitely you could.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
no worries.
Nice
Excellent.
meeting you. Yeah, you guys rock.
Yes, much appreciated. All right, I'm
Thanks
gonna
so
take
much.
a couple of questions, I think. So another, let's say three, and then we're done.
Okay, great. All right, Stochastic Pixel. I'm going to bring you up here.
Hello, hope you can hear me okay.
Yep.
I was wondering, first of all, what the method you use to compress a, was it 100 terabyte file or data set down to just 2 gigabytes is.
Well, I mean, it's not really compression, right? This is creation of a neural network based on kind of transformer diffusion architecture. So I think that there is. Do we have literature on that? Kind of Yuga? Like, I think, do we have like train your own little diffusion model? I think we might do. We'll get some kind of resources that have some more of the formalized way and mechanisms of that. But again, what we're looking at is attention. It's looking at the hidden layers of connectivity between the various images and text. And that's what you need the supercomputer for, because it's a complicated, difficult problem, right? It's complicated and difficult to figure out those hidden layers of meaning. In fact, that's how humans work. So, like, I have a child with autism, for example. Some of you might have similar people in your family or your network. With ASD, what happens is that there's so much noise that you don't formulate the connections and these hidden layers correctly in your brain. So, one of the ways that you get around that is applied behavioral analysis, where you rebuild the connections between Apple meaning various things. This AI does something very similar, and that's how it gets the massive compression that you see, because it's very similar to the way the human brain works. So I think that there are some very good YouTube videos around this, and we will kind of dig them up and put them maybe in the news. And then you can really dig into that or go another level beyond to the actual mathematics of kind of how the gradients work and how the machine really compresses this. It's not really compression, it's more like principle learning and understanding. This isn't a database that's WinZipped. This is more like a principle based approach to if an apple is in the sentence, it could mean an apple in all these different senses. And let's see what we do as we randomly denoise the outputs. Enhance, enhance, enhance. That's why on Midjourney and things like that, you literally see it go from chaos to order. This is obviously too fast for that. So yeah, it's quite a complicated bit of mathematics. Quite a relatively elegant process. And again, there are some good explainer videos about this and things like that we'll dig up and we'll add to maybe the news or resources so people can dig into it and then maybe train their own little mini models as well.
Thank you. That definitely clears it up quite a bit. That makes a lot more sense than just compressing an actual file. That level of compression, I just didn't understand how that was possible, but I suppose it's not possible. One other
Well,
question I had,
you could
and I
say,
apologize if this has been asked before. I'm wondering what the absolute minimum requirements for running either the current models or future models will be, because I've just got a moldy old 960 GTX 960 at the moment.
well, I mean, like, just run it in the cloud, right? Whatever. But like I said, for me, if you want to run these models well, you probably need a K80, which is a couple of $100. That would be kind of my recommendation there. But over time, we'll make the model smaller and smaller. So I think, and the devs will kill me, we can get a 10 times improvement in efficiency over the next year. That would be my guess via instruct and reinforcement learning with human feedback time models. Because again, this is actually quite a general brain. So remember, this model can create anything. Like anyone on this call, do you have any doubt this model can create just about anything? You can see it. But do you need a model that can create anything? Maybe you just want to have pictures of cats. How big would a cat model be? A lot smaller. You don't need all those little neural network neurons, right? So, you'll be able to run things on your 960 or even your phone. But they might not be a model that can do absolutely everything, but can still do a heck of a lot.
Well, that makes sense. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Cool. Thank you for being part of the community. All right, 2 more questions.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for those questions. Those were great. Okay, so Rich Servo, come on up and join us on stage, please. Welcome. Is your microphone on?
Does not look like it. Do you want to
Hi,
type your
Rich.
question?
Yeah, we can't hear you, Rich.
Yeah,
You're
you can
not
type.
coming through.
We'll answer his question in type. We'll bring someone else up to the stage.
Yeah, sure. Just shoot it to me in the message that you have. While he's doing that, I'm going to bring Missy up on stage. So, Missy, I think I've just sent you the invite to speak. If you had a question, did you have your hand up, or was I jumping the gun there? Okay, all right. So then we're going to try with Priestley here. Priestley, I think you have your hand up. I'm going to invite you to speak.
Thank you very much. And starting
Great,
off, I just
welcome.
wanted to say you guys are great. I was here on the initial beta talk, and it gave us so much good information. And I've been kind of doing AI art and fun with that since Night Cafe, so this is so much better. It's been amazing. Um, I just had a small question with the recent bot update. They limited the amount of pictures to 4, which is completely reasonable. I think 9 was amazing. But the individual images were a little bit easier to pick out. I know they can still go by seed afterward with another generation, but would it be possible to maybe get that back in the future?
You mean in terms of have them one after the other, or instead of a grid?
Yeah, basically. I know it's kind of a mess when it's in chat because everyone's doing it, but since it's just 4 images now, it won't be as bad.
I mean, probably, but like, again, we're going to move to a website shortly, right? It's like this, we're not trying to do Mid-Journey Part 2, right? So this bot, we'll decide what to do with it. We have some options. Like the website experience is just far superior. So like you're nearly there for the website. Yeah, and like Night Cafe is also fantastic. I want to say one thing actually. Shout out to Night Cafe. Kind of Angus reached out a few months ago, and he said, "Thank you for all that you're doing. We'd like to make a donation to whatever you're doing. We don't care what it is, out of the blue." And he's the only person who did that, you know. And so we really like Night Cafe, and we love the community over there as well. And great guy. So again, thank you to them.
Yeah, honestly, Night Cafe is amazing, and I would be happy to make a donation too. I think a lot of the people listening and have been using this for the last week or two just want to throw money at you and just say thank you. This is really fun. It's kind of like watching the future unfold. It's really good stuff.
It's gonna be crazy, eh? Thank you all for your support. All right, cool. So who's next?
Excellent. Okay, all right. So we have Liz E. Live. Come on up to the stage here.
Hey, so I was curious about the I had some questions about the latent space of your model, and if you've done, like, in particular, its relationship to the metric you're using. I heard you were doing something with humans comparing images. Have you evaluated how good of a representation your latent space is for those for that metric that you evaluated?
So look, it was a very not standard kind of thing with the alpha. It was just rate it 1 to 10, right? And then we kind of had some scores as we checked some different models like the V2 and other things. So the V2 we checked was like 768 model, so output to 768, but it was a little bit undertrained. So it wasn't as good as the V1. The new V2s are not 768 anymore, but they're better. But it was very like, it wasn't rigorous. It was more a case of we just wanted to build a data set, the Simulacrobot data set, the aesthetic captions that have been released now. Can someone put the link on that to the stage chat? To clip filter the Lion 5B dataset. The only real rigorous checks that we've done are the FID scores. So the FID scores you can find on the GitHub. And again, kind of this is pushing up towards Imogen level on that. With the new VitH encoder, it should again go much further towards that. The reality is though that the evaluation metrics for image models are just crap. So what we did with language models at Eleuther is that we built the LM evaluation harness, the language model evaluation harness that's now standardized pretty much across the sector. I imagine we'll do something similar for image models. If you have any input or suggestions about that, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. I is this a good forum for that, or?
Well, I mean, like, just stay considered and, either drop us a mail or a message and
Sure.
it'll definitely get to the devs.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I was also you said you have 336 dimension latent space currently, right?
I believe it's VitL336. Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a long day.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so that would wrap it up then. We're just about at 5:24, almost 5:30, so we've been going almost for 90 minutes. So we can wrap it up. Do you want to give us any closing words, closing thoughts?
Yeah, you're all going to get mad with us now because we're going to roll out the classifier. And so all the titties will kind of go for a while. Again, please bear with us. we're going to scale back the levels, and we just need to fine tune this down. It's best to start at the extremes and go down. Again, thank you all for participating in this beta. It's really helped us understand the model better and created some really interesting things. You will see the migration to the website hopefully over the next week. Touch wood, fingers crossed. Good luck to the product team. And again, we are working as hard as we can to get this model out to everyone. We do not want to sit on it because our fingers are getting burned. I'd also say that haters gonna hate. People are misinformed. Please don't respond negatively to people who are scared, right? Or people who are just making specious arguments. Don't get drawn into that. Instead, make pretty pictures and beautiful art. Because the temptation is always there. Like, I haven't been drawn, hopefully, into too many arguments, and neither should you, because I know that everyone who's on this call right now really feels a lot for this because it is amazing, and it is going to be a profound change. Like I said, it's a Renaissance 2.0 moment. Again, I'd like to thank everyone on this call, everyone in the community, and I look forward to continuing to build the community. And we are on the front line and pioneers of just something really amazing, and it's super duper cool. So thank you all.
Thank you for answering all those questions. Fantastic. So thanks, everyone. We're going to close the stage, and thanks for being here, and thanks for being wonderful parts of the community and being generous and being kind to everyone. So thanks, and we'll see you soon.